Good evening, my friends. It is such a privilege to stand in front of you tonight. Truly, when I look out at this room, I don't just see an audience. I see parents, grandparents, veterans, teachers, builders, people who have lived full lives and who deserve to keep living them with strength, clarity, and independence. For those of you who are new to my seminars, my name is Dr. William. I've been practicing medicine for over 23 years with a focus on metabolic health, cardiovascular function, and aging physiology. I've had the honor of treating thousands of patients in my clinic, many of them in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, who were told that their declining kidney function was simply normal aging. And tonight, we are going to challenge that idea. I want to start with a story.
Several years ago, I had a patient named Margaret. She was 72 years old, sharp as a tack, former school principal. She walked into my office holding a lab report, and I could see the concern in her eyes. Her doctor had just told her that her kidney function had dropped again. Her GFR, which stands for glomerular filtration rate, had been slowly declining for 3 years. She said to me, "Dr. William, I don't understand. I don't eat junk. I don't drink soda. I eat vegetables every single day. Spinach smoothies, roasted beets, sweet potatoes. I'm doing everything right." And that sentence stopped me. Because Margaret was doing everything she had been told was healthy. But her kidneys were quietly deteriorating. When we looked closely at her diet, something became very clear. She was eating large amounts of 5 specific vegetables every single day. Foods that are celebrated in magazines, praised on morning shows, recommended by well-meaning doctors. And yet, for her kidneys, they were gasoline on a slow-burning fire. When we adjusted her intake, within 4 months, her GFR stabilized. Within 8 months, it improved. Her swelling went down. Her nighttime urination decreased. Her energy came back. And that's when I realized something that I need you to hear very clearly tonight. What is healthy for a 25-year-old athlete is not automatically healthy for a 70-year-old kidney. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly why certain vegetables, yes, vegetables, can quietly damage aging kidneys. I'm going to explain the biology in a way that makes sense. I'm going to walk you through the turning point moment inside your body when silent damage begins. I'm going to dismantle some myths that are costing seniors their independence. And I'm going to give you a precise, practical protocol you can start immediately. Because this is not about fear. This is about precision. And if you understand what I'm about to teach you, you may very well protect the most underappreciated organ system in your body. So lean forward with me now, because your kidneys are listening. Now let's talk about the problem. I want you to imagine your kidneys as a city's water filtration plant. 2 powerful processing centers, each about the size of your fist, sitting quietly in your lower back. Inside each kidney are about 1 million tiny filtering units called nephrons. 1 million in each kidney, 2 million total. Each nephron is like a microscopic water treatment facility. Blood flows in, waste gets filtered out, electrolytes are balanced, fluid levels are adjusted, toxins are neutralized, blood pressure is regulated, hormones are activated. Your kidneys are not passive organs. They are intelligent chemical engineers. Now imagine that city water plant working perfectly for decades. Then slowly, over time, the pipes narrow. The filters clog. The pressure increases. Not dramatically, not overnight, quietly. That's what happens in aging kidneys. After the age of 40, we lose about 1% of kidney filtration capacity per year. That is normal physiology. By the time someone is 70, they may have lost 30% of their filtering power. Now here's the critical part. When filtration declines, the kidney becomes more vulnerable
to certain compounds in food, especially compounds that are normally harmless in younger adults with full renal capacity. And this is where those 5 vegetables come in. Let's name them clearly: spinach, beets, Swiss chard, sweet potatoes, and tomatoes. Now, I want you to take a breath, because I know what some of you are thinking. But doctor, those are healthy. Yes, for many people they are. But here is what is rarely discussed in mainstream conversations. All 5 of those vegetables are extremely high in oxalates or potassium, and sometimes both. Let me explain why that matters. Oxalates are natural plant compounds. In small amounts, the body can handle them. But when oxalate intake exceeds kidney filtration capacity, especially in seniors with reduced GFR, oxalate can bind with calcium and form microscopic crystals. And where do those crystals go? Into the kidney tissue. Over time, these crystals can embed into the delicate tubules, the tiny pipes of our water treatment plant. Imagine pouring sand into a filtration system. Not enough to shut it down today, but enough to scratch, inflame, and irritate. That irritation triggers inflammation. Inflammation triggers fibrosis. Fibrosis means scarring, and scar tissue does not filter blood. Now let's layer potassium on top of that. Aging kidneys also lose efficiency at excreting potassium. When potassium accumulates in the bloodstream, a condition called hyperkalemia, it can disrupt heart rhythm, it can cause muscle weakness, it can become life-threatening. Sweet potatoes, spinach, and tomatoes are potassium powerhouses. Again, wonderful in the right body at the right time. But in seniors with declining renal clearance, daily high intake can quietly push potassium toward dangerous levels. Here's what most people are doing every single day that makes this worse. They are blending spinach into smoothies every morning. They are juicing beets for heart health. They are eating sweet potatoes as a low glycemic superfood. They are adding tomato sauce generously to meals. They are sautéing Swiss chard because they heard it's nutrient dense. And they are doing this with aging kidneys that no one has explained are no longer operating at full capacity. According to national health statistics, nearly 40% of adults over 60 have some degree of chronic kidney disease. Many do not know it. Early CKD has no symptoms, no pain, no warning, just a slow decline in filtration. So when I say you have not been told the full story, I say that not to criticize your doctors, but the system is reactive. It waits for lab values to become alarming. It rarely discusses prevention in nuanced dietary terms. I want to stop here for a moment because this is critical. The same vegetable that protects one organ system may stress another if the body's filtration capacity has changed. This is not about demonizing plants. This is about matching intake to physiology. Now let's go deeper into the science. I want you to picture what happens in the first 4 hours after you eat a high oxalate meal. Let's say a large spinach salad with almonds and beets. In the first hour, digestion begins in your stomach. Oxalates are released from plant cells. They move into the small intestine. Now, in a younger person with healthy gut bacteria, certain microbes like Oxalobacter formigenes can degrade oxalate before it enters the bloodstream. But here is something fascinating. As we age, gut microbial diversity declines. Antibiotic exposure over decades reduces oxalate-degrading bacteria. So more oxalate crosses into the bloodstream. Now the kidneys must filter it. Inside the nephron, blood enters a structure called the glomerulus. Think of this as a high-pressure sieve. Small molecules pass through, larger ones stay behind. Oxalate passes through. Then it enters the tubules, long microscopic channels where reabsorption and secretion occur. Here, oxalate can meet calcium. Calcium plus oxalate equals calcium oxalate crystals. If concentration is high enough, crystals form, initially microscopic, invisible, but sharp, irritating. Tubular cells detect these crystals as foreign bodies. They activate inflammatory pathways. Cytokines are released. White blood cells arrive. Day after day, meal after meal. Now fast forward weeks. Chronic microinflammation leads to fibrosis. Fibrosis reduces nephron efficiency. Fewer functioning filters means more workload on the remaining ones. That increases glomerular pressure. High pressure damages the filtration membrane. Protein begins leaking into urine, a condition called proteinuria. Now let's layer potassium into the timeline. Within 2 to 3 hours of consuming a high potassium meal, blood potassium rises. In healthy kidneys, aldosterone, a hormone, signals the kidneys to excrete excess potassium. But aging kidneys respond more sluggishly. If someone is on medications like ACE inhibitors or potassium-sparing diuretics, which many seniors are, potassium excretion drops even further. So blood potassium may remain elevated longer. And here is the turning point moment I want you to understand. When enough nephrons are damaged by chronic oxalate exposure and potassium clearance declines simultaneously, the kidney reaches a threshold. Below that threshold, the system compensates. Above that threshold, decline accelerates. It's like losing enough workers in a factory that production can no longer keep up with demand. The remaining workers become overworked. Errors increase. Breakdowns multiply. And once fibrosis reaches a certain percentage, it is very difficult to reverse. That is the moment I build toward with my patients. Because before that threshold, change is powerful. After it, we are managing damage. Now let's talk about myths. The first myth is you can never eat too many vegetables. This is not only wrong, it is physiologically backwards when applied universally. Nutrients are dose dependent. Water can kill you in excess. Sodium can save your life in deficiency. Context matters. The second myth is, if my potassium is normal on blood work, I'm fine. Serum potassium is tightly regulated. It may appear normal until kidney function has already significantly declined. You cannot rely on one lab marker without understanding filtration rate and medication interactions. The third myth is, kidney disease only happens if you have diabetes. Diabetes is a major risk factor, yes, but hypertension, chronic NSAID use, dehydration, high oxalate intake, and aging alone can all contribute. Every time I hear someone say, I don't have diabetes, so my kidneys are fine, I have to take a breath, because that assumption delays protective action. Now let's talk evidence. There have been multiple clinical observations linking high dietary oxalate to kidney stone formation and to oxalate nephropathy, a condition where oxalate crystals directly damage kidney tissue. In elderly populations, studies show reduced renal reserve. That means less buffering capacity against dietary extremes. In my own clinic, I have seen patients with early stage 3 chronic kidney disease stabilize after reducing high oxalate vegetables, optimizing hydration, and supporting gut microbiome diversity. I've seen potassium levels normalize when we adjusted sweet potato frequency from daily to once weekly. I've watched edema reduce, blood pressure stabilize. This is not theory for me. This is lived clinical reality. Now let me give you the practical protocol. First, If you are over 60, ask your doctor for your most recent GFR. Know your number. Write it down. If your GFR is below 60, you must be cautious with high oxalate foods. Limit spinach to once per week or less. Rotate greens. Choose lower oxalate options like romaine lettuce or arugula more frequently. Beets should be occasional, not daily juicing ingredients. Swiss chard should not be your primary cooked green. Sweet potatoes, moderate portions, not large daily servings. Tomatoes, especially concentrated forms like sauces, should be used thoughtfully, not as a staple base for every meal. Hydration is non-negotiable. 2 to 2.5 liters of water daily unless medically restricted. Increase calcium intake from appropriate sources during meals to bind oxalate in the gut rather than the kidneys. Support gut health with fiber diversity and, if appropriate, probiotic strategies under supervision. Avoid combining multiple high oxalate foods in one meal. That single change can dramatically reduce crystal formation risk. Now, who should be especially careful? Anyone with known chronic kidney disease, anyone on ACE inhibitors, ARBs, or potassium-sparing diuretics, anyone with a history of kidney stones, anyone with poorly controlled blood pressure. Pregnant women require specialized guidance and should never restrict foods without medical supervision. Children generally tolerate oxalates better due to higher renal reserve, but balance still matters. And I say this with genuine care. Do not self-diagnose extreme restriction. The goal is not fear. The goal is strategic moderation based on physiology. Let me bring you back to Margaret. After we reduced her daily spinach smoothies, limited beet intake, diversified her greens, and monitored hydration, her kidney numbers improved. But more importantly, she told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I feel like someone finally explained my body to me." That is what I want for you. Your body is not failing you. It is responding to inputs. When you align those inputs with your current physiology, not your 30-year-old physiology, but your present physiology, healing becomes possible. We evolved in environments with seasonal variation. We did not consume the same high oxalate plant daily year-round. Modern abundance changes exposure patterns. So tonight, I leave you with this. Healthy aging is not about eating more superfoods. It is about eating intelligently for the organ systems you have today. Protect your kidneys, and they will protect every other system in your body. Thank you for your attention. I would love to hear your questions, and if this message resonated with you, share your experience, because someone else may need to hear exactly what you discovered tonight.